Welcome to the Sport of Politics with Joel Robideau on 103.7 The Game, online at 1037thegame.com. We discuss the local issues affecting you and the Acadiana area with Lafayette City Parish Mayor President Joel Robideau. From time to time, we'll have special guests and always make time to take your calls. Now, time for the Sport of Politics with Joel Robideau. Here's your host, Dave Schultz.
Hello, Acadiana. Dave Schultz on the Sport of Politics on 103.7 The Game. Usually, Mayor President Joel Robideau is with us, but for some reason, he's not this week. It's his own show. Where are you there, Mayor President? Must be nice. Must be nice. But we have ample guests to fill in. Corporal Paul Mouton, Public Information Officer of the Lafayette Police Department, will join us a little bit later, but we got Ben Berthelot from the Executive Director of the Lafayette Convention and Visitors Commission. Thank you very much for joining me.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yeah, we'll take your calls if you have any questions. 706-0111, 706-0111. All right, exactly what is your role with the commission?
Sure. Well, I'm the executive director. We have a board of directors made up of 9 members that hires my position. Mm-hmm. And our job, we're the marketing organization for Lafayette Parish. So our job is to try, at the end of the day, try to get people to come stay in our hotels, spend money in our community, and be a tourist in our area. And so we work year-round to try to draw people here.
Is this the biggest weekend of the year then for you?
Well, it's certainly a big one.
Right.
We have Festival International, Festival Acadienne, but Mardi Gras is always a very popular event for sure.
So is Festival International, is that the biggest one?
Well,
where you're maybe not competing with New Orleans?
I would say on a attendee basis, they're probably pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was told last week, Alan, our producer, tried to go out to dinner last week. It was packed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's Mardi Gras or not, but it was full. And to me, I know oil prices are down, but it would seem people going out to dinner would be the leading indicator of a soft economy. It hasn't quite hit yet. Is that Mardi Gras or people just, I guess last week was payday, but.
Well, yeah, I think you definitely could say that Mardi Gras had a lot to do with that. And looking at some of the numbers, and we can go over some of those, but, we estimate that 1.26 million people attended Mardi Gras. This is based on a 2010 economic impact survey done by the university. About 90,000 of those were...
Hold on, 1.2 million here in Lafayette?
Yes.
In 2010?
Right.
No kidding.
Estimated, yeah. And actually, we've grown a lot since then.
Grown a lot since then?
We have now parades in Youngsville, Scott, and Carencro, and all those have continued to grow.
Right.
And so I believe the numbers are actually a little higher now, but we haven't done a study in a couple of years. But estimated that those attendees spent over $100 million in Lafayette Parish during Mardi Gras, and for an overall economic impact of over $110 million. And that includes about $10 million that we don't often think about, but the monies that the crews spend during the Mardi Gras season.
Well, that's the ones I would think were spending it. I went to Apollo.
Right.
Pretty good ball.
So Mardi Gras is huge. It's the timing is good, as you mentioned, with the economy being down due to the low oil prices. It's going to be a good weekend for our hoteliers, and so that's what it's all about. And it's not just the hotels; it's the other things you talked about, the restaurants and our attractions, and all those things.
So, can you tell how much money is from people from in town and how much people are from out of town? Obviously, with the hotels, most people are from out of town.
It's not broken down,
right?
But they estimate that the average parade attendee spent about $370 to celebrate Mardi Gras. And then, it's, like I said, the other good thing is that returned over $800,000 in overall taxes to Lafayette Parish. So the great thing about tourism is that it provides revenue. It's one of the few things in government that actually produces revenue.
Right.
And so 2014, we had 28.1 million visitors to the state of Louisiana. They spent over $10 billion and returned over $836 million to the state tax coffers. So given the state of the state's budget right now, that $836 million is a big chunk. And so that's really the importance of tourism. You think of tourism as a lot of fun. It's fun to travel, but it's also a huge economic driver.
And yet Bobby Jindal still screwed it up. No, I didn't say that all out. Are we on TV? Are we on the radio? Am I allowed to say that? Dave Schultz on the Sport of Politics, along with Ben Berthelot, the executive director of Lafayette Convention and Visitor Bureau Commission, I should say. How many parades are there overall in Mardi Gras in the Lafayette, Acadiana area?
A lot. Starting last weekend, you had Karen Crow, you had Scott, you had the first weekend of Rio, which is relatively new. That's only a couple years old.
Sure.
And that's a great thing for us as well. So instead of just being able to sell Mardi Gras as really one extended weekend, now we have 2 weekends.
Right.
And so that's 2 weekends that people can come into town. Then of course you're going to have starting on Friday night the kickoff parade and Saturday, and then on Monday and Tuesday. And the other great thing that we sell is you can go 20 minutes outside of Lafayette Parish into some of the rural areas and experience the Career de Mardi Gras, and that's a really unique experience. Last year we had the Travel Channel down here for the Career de Mardi Gras in Church Point. And so that's a totally different experience. And so that's what we sell. And we do a lot of trade shows throughout the year, a lot of sales missions. And we always talk about you can have sort of the authentic, traditional Mardi Gras that people think of when they think of New Orleans. But you also, in 20 minutes, can be at a Career de Mardi Gras. And we also sell that, we're the second largest Mardi Gras in the state.
Right.
But we're also a very family-friendly Mardi Gras. And we kind of...
That is the difference between New Orleans as somebody who's from out of town.
Right.
And expecting one thing, it was another.
Right, and and that doesn't come very easily. We kind of take for granted, and we complain about the barricades, and we don't really think about all the work that goes into it. But without all the volunteers on the crews, without the public works department, without the police department, none of that would happen. And so it takes a lot of folks to make it happen. But it's really a feather in our cap that we have a very family friendly Mardi Gras, and that's something that people really enjoy.
All right, so when you say it's grown, so do you know how many more parades do we have now compared to 2010? So when you say what is the population of the area to begin with? So if you're telling me 1.2 million people participate in it, how much is that compared to what we have in the area? Is it 400, 500,000? I know Lafayette's about 200,000.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure what the total population of Acadiana is, but it's sort of a mix. And these numbers, they estimate for Festival International, as example, 400,000 people. So a lot of that is locals, but the economic impact survey said that approximately 90,000 of those parade viewers were either day trippers or overnight visitors to the parish. So...
Well, that Festival International is all in one spot, is the one thing, where you're telling me all the parades from Mardi Gras are around the entire area.
Right, and that's the thing, and it never fails. People like yourself and in the media, after a big event like Festival or Mardi Gras, they'll call on the Monday or the Wednesday and say, okay, so how many people did we have in for Mardi Gras? What was the economic impact? Well, it's not that easy because
of course not.
It's free. It's a free event.
Sure.
So use Jazz Fest as an example, which is a ticketed event.
Right.
They can turn around in a couple of days and tell you, well, we had this many tickets sold. You have a multiplier on how much these people spent, and they can turn over a number like that. For us, it's not that easy because you just don't know. It's a free event. You got people coming. When you check into a hotel, you don't say if you're here for Mardi Gras or you're here for a business meeting with Dave Schultz or what you're here for. So because we have so many free events, for us to really get even an indicator, we have to do an economic impact study, and so they're very costly. That's why we're not able to do one every year. So, but unless we do an economic impact study, it's nearly impossible for us to say how many people were here. There's some rough estimates that I think over the years they look at trash and things like that. But the number one indicator that I've seen over the last couple of years is the weather plays a huge factor.
Right.
And the last 2 years we had tough weather. It was rainy and
Mardi
cold,
Gras.
and that hurt a lot. And because a lot of the people that are coming to our Mardi Gras are driving in from nearby regional areas, and so they're going to look at the forecast and they're trying to make a decision. Probably this week, say, am I going to go to Lafayette for Mardi Gras? Am I going to stay home based on the weather?
Right.
And so the weather is a huge indicator, and it looks like we're going to have some pretty decent weather, which will definitely help.
Well, I need to step up and help travel and tourism. I need to start charging for business meetings with me. I don't charge anything for business meetings with me.
You
I need to step up.
Right.
All right, give us a call on the Sport of Politics. We are talking with Ben Berthelot, Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitor Commission. Now, obviously you do some other things.
Sure.
I happen to know this only because a former employer, his daughter came and played in what was a huge soccer tournament.
Absolutely.
Over the summer, I think it got rained out, actually.
It was terrible weather.
Right.
We were lucky to finish it, and a lot of teams had to end up leaving early because they canceled some of the games. But that was the President's Cup, which was a huge get for us. Really a national soccer tournament.
Right.
And the folks at the Lafayette Youth Soccer Association in Moore Park really helped to put that on. But events like that...
Is that coming back?
It won't come back. It rotates around the country.
Okay.
Well, we hope to get it back one day.
Right.
But events like that, we just landed the 2017 National Golden Gloves Boxing Championships, which is very, very important.
Oh,
for our
no
area.
kidding.
It's in
When's that?
It's in Las Vegas.
Sure.
This year, to give you kind of an indicator.
Yeah.
It's going to be in 2017 in May, I believe.
Oh, very nice.
So
in the Cajun Dome.
correct.
In the new revamped Cajun Dome.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got a call? Do we have a call? Oh, we have a call. All right, let's take who's on the phone?
We have Marianne in Lafayette.
Marianne in Lafayette. Thanks for calling the Sport of Politics. Good morning, Marianne.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Ben Berthelot. Marianne speaking. You know me. My sister taught you, Ben. And I see your mom at church all the time at Holy Cross. You know your subject of the Tourist Commission. I've been just so thrilled hearing you speak with Dave Schultz, and I enjoy the program here very much. I hope Joel Robideau will realize what a great guest he had in bringing Ben to us this morning.
Well, Marianne, thank you for calling. And I hadn't seen you in a long time, but it's great to hear from you. And
I know, and I understand.
I appreciate the positive feedback.
And not only that, you give that little son of yours a big hug for me and my sister. And in the meantime, Mr. Schultz, I appreciate all you doing to keep these guests coming, and I hope we'll see the mayor real soon. God bless you all.
God bless you. Thank you, Marianne.
She a teacher, or was her sister a teacher?
Her sister taught me, actually, many years ago at Cathedral when I started at Cathedral and then went to Fatima. But Marianne has been around a long time, and she's a great advocate. And I hadn't talked to her in a long time since I used to work for Consolidated Government at one time. But it's good to hear from her.
Well, Marianne, just to let you can let her sister know, he's doing all right. He's got monogram shirts going. I don't know anybody else who's doing monogram shirts, but he's got monogram shirts.
That's right.
All right. We want to thank Marianne for giving us this call. And we will tell Joe Robideau if he ever wants to show up at his own show. What a great guest that we had. All right. We'll be back with more with Ben Berthelot, Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitor Commission. After this, on the Sport of Politics on Acadiana Sports Station 103.7 The Game.
Folks from all over come down and celebrate our festival down in Acadiana.
Now, back to Sport of Politics on 103.7 The Game and 1037thegame.com with Lafayette City Parish Mayor President Joel Robideau. Here's your host, Dave Schultz.
All right, as you can see, Mayor President Joel Robideau not with us. That won't stop us for having a radio show on the Sport of Politics. Dave Schultz, right now, along with Ben Berthelot, Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitor Commission. Welcome to give us a call, 706-0111. 706-0111. So besides Mardi Gras, obviously, and Festival International. So those are your two big annual events.
Festival Acadiana being the third.
Okay, and then so that's one. When's that again?
That's in October, second week of October every year, and they just celebrate their 40th anniversary.
All right.
And the great thing about events is that it's an opportunity for people to come for an event, maybe for their first time. But we promote our area year round, and just kind of give you a feel, your listeners a feel for some of the things that we do. First of all, as I mentioned, we're a marketing organization, so we spend over $1 million in direct marketing and advertising outside of the area. So you don't see a lot of the ads that we do because we're trying to get people to come here. And so that's we do all of our ads in-house with a creative designer and our communications team. So on the communication side, of course, social media, digital, print ads, all those things. We also host a lot of travel writers, and we're going to have 6 travel writers in for Mardi Gras through the Society of American Travel Writers. And if you look at all the awards we've gotten over the years, the tastiest town of the South, the best food city in the United States, Rand McNally and USA Today's, best food city, all those things, the Travel and Leisure #2 college town. A lot of those awards and rankings that we've gotten have been a result of the happiest city in the United States, a result of relationships that we've had over the years with travel writers through my predecessor and our communications team. And these folks, what we do is we host them. We pay their costs.
Sure.
They go back and write great articles on our area and become familiar with our areas. So that's something we do through our communications department. We have a convention and sports department. The President's Cup is a good example of some of the events that we go after. The National Boxing Glove Championships that I mentioned. We work very closely with the Youngsville Sports Complex, with Pelican Park, and we will as well when the Broussard Sports Complex opens to attract major tournaments on the weekends, which is a big thing for our hoteliers. We actually provide bid fees so they can go out and secure these large tournaments. And then we work with a lot of different associations and meeting planners to try to get different conventions here. The big ones like LAGCO, all the way down to just the smaller conventions that rotate across the state and across the region. And then we have on a tourism side of our business, tourism group sales, where we actually work closely with tour operators, the large buses that you see around town, to attract them to come to our area. And we do a lot of appointment-based shows. My manager just got back from NTA is a big show, and we had 40 appointments with tour operators, many of those that we already do business with and some that we're trying to do business with, and we're trying to get them to come in Lafayette for a few days. And the majority of those buses are going to New Orleans, but they want to get they want to get out of New Orleans for a day or two, and so they'll come to what's known as Cajun country and Cajun and Creole country for a more authentic experience. And so that's really the three major departments that we have, and it's a year-round job. We don't put on events, but we market events. And
now, are you private or a public entity?
We're quasi-governmental in that we're funded by a hotel-motel occupancy tax in Lafayette Parish. So if you stay in a hotel in Lafayette Parish, you're going to pay the 4% local sales tax. You're going to pay the 4% state sales tax, and then you're going to pay 4% on top of that for an occupancy tax. That 4% comes back to our office for us to go out and market our area, with the goal being that it's going to attract people to come back and stay in those hotels.
So then an overall poor economy could hurt you, but your budget isn't going to get slashed because the state is a mess.
No, well, we work very closely with the state, but we do a lot of partnerships with them. But in terms of budgeting, no. Now, the oil economy does hurt us because even though we can't control, or we don't market to oil executives or oil travel, there's no question that particularly midweek, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that a lot of business in the hotels is oil business. And so what you're seeing on the reports that I get is we're seeing a significant downturn in those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday occupancy numbers. So it's having a huge effect. And, we've had record-breaking years the last 2 years, 2014 and 2013. And that's when oil was really good and tourism was really good. And those are record-breaking years. So 2015, we'll be down about 5.8% to 2014's record-breaking year, which is not that bad considering where oil is. I'm pleased with that number. But it's times like this really where I think the importance of tourism becomes even more highlighted, because our hoteliers, they always need tourism, but they need us now more than ever because they're losing that corporate oil travel right now.
All right, tell us, and we're talking with Ben Berthelot, Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitors Commission. Tell us about the refurbishing of the Cajun Dome. Do you know about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't manage the Cajun Dome. We work very closely with them.
Sure.
But I think it's the building's 30 years old,
right?
And just like a house or anything else, over time, you have to keep up. And they've done a phenomenal job of really. It doesn't look like a 30-year-old building, and that's a tribute to Greg Davis and his team at the Cajun Dome. But as I understand it, I think around May they're going to start the renovations on the Cajun Dome itself. It'll be out of commission for a couple of months, and then hopefully by, I believe, November they'll be back again in action. And it's from everything I've heard is going to be a tremendous positive thing. It's good, from a basketball standpoint, a little more intimate setting, and then from a concert setup, I think you'll have more seating, so that's going to be good. And certainly the big acts that the Cajun Dome is able to attract certainly helps tourism. People come from all around to hear some of these acts. So I think it's going to be a positive. And our biggest priority, actually, in talking about the Cajun Dome and the Convention Center is we've had a feasibility study done several years ago, but our number one priority from a tourism standpoint is a full-service 300-room minimum hotel at the Cajun Dome and the doubling of the Cajun Dome Convention Center. We're missing out on a lot of conventions right now that want to be under one roof, and now you got casinos in Lake Charles, you got casinos in Shreveport, you got New Orleans, which can host any convention. You got Baton Rouge, which has in their downtowns, the urban core, they have over 1,000 hotel rooms right now. And so it's our number one priority, that full-service hotel at the Cajun Dome and the doubling of the Cajun Dome Convention Center. You got events like LAGCO, which have a waiting list of 430 vendors or so that can't get in. And so when that project happens, combined with a lot of the talk of urban revitalization that Mayor President Robideau has as a top priority, his gateways on University Avenue and other areas, and the revitalization of the core and the University Commons project that the university is looking at, I think when we get those things and have more of an urban urban environment near the Cajun Dome, it's going to be a huge thing for tourism. And you also can't forget about the horse farm, which is just right around the corner. So all of a sudden now, you have the capacity to go to a convention. If you're staying at that full-service hotel, or if you're staying even at DoubleTree or anywhere along Pinhook, you get over there, but you can go out for lunch, walk to a restaurant. You can even walk downtown, because every city that we go to, I would walk the distance from the Cajun Dome to downtown in New York City or New Orleans, but we won't
Right.
we won't do it in Lafayette, because it's just not part of.
Got to flatten out those sidewalks that I keep on tripping over.
I've heard your sidewalk discussion. Yeah. But anyway, that's our top priority, and when that happens, I think it's going to even elevate our tourism capacity to a whole nother level. And it's something that other hoteliers in the city are supportive of, because they realize if we get that full-service hotel, it's going to help their business, allow us to get more what we call citywide conventions. We don't have very many citywide conventions right now outside of LAGCO that fill up every property. And so we're looking forward to that, and hopefully, in 3 to 4 years, that'll be a reality.
All right, a couple questions on the Cajun Dome. What are
Yeah.
you doing to get Styx and Def Leppard back before it's refurbished? Devastated that they didn't play last night.
Right.
And bringing sports into it, what's the feasibility of having a first and second round NCAA tournament, or technically second and third round NCAA tournament weekend here in
Right.
Lafayette?
Good questions. In terms of the programming, you have to bring the Cajun Dome, Greg Davis or Pam DeVille on, because they handle all of that. We just work close with them on the convention side. So
Right.
I can't really answer that, although I do know that they do a great job with the resources that they have of getting some concerts. They had some challenges when Bayou Country Superfest came to Baton Rouge.
Right,
There
right.
was a contract that
Correct.
said, you're familiar with that, but just for your listeners, that any artist that played at the Bayou Country Superfest could not play within a 100-mile radius of
Like for
Baton
90
Rouge.
days,
Yeah,
right.
for a while. I think it's more than 90 days.
6 months.
So that
Yeah.
took a toll on the Cajun Dome. But in terms of the NCAA, I'm not sure what their requirements are for seating, but I am sure that probably it's been looked at over the years.
Right.
And
Well, now that it's going to be redone, maybe
right, and maybe it fits in.
maybe it could
Right.
fit in. All right, we'll be back with more Sport of Politics. Dave Schultz, along with Ben Berthelot, Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitors Commission. And we'll have Corporal Paul Mouton, Public Information Officer. So I've had, let's see, we get the Mayor President when he decides to show up at his own show. We've had the Interim Chief on. And now we're going to have the PIO on. I am well connected, folks. Stay with us on Acadiana Sports Station 103.7 The Game.
Back to Sport of Politics on 1037 The Game and 1037thegame.com.
All right, Dave Schultz back on the Sport of Politics, minus Mayor President Joel Robideau. Anytime, Joel. It's like a show and a half he's missed. It's a show and a half, Sidra. Get him back. Still waiting to find out who the starting quarterback is for the Raging Cajuns. You'd think she would know. You think she's well connected enough to know. Sidra Wingardner. Okay, we do have Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitor Commission, Ben Berthelot, on one more segment before Corporal Paul Mouton, Public Information Officer, joins us. We do have a phone call, though. Fabio on the ropesoapanddope.com hotline. Thank you for hanging on, Fabio. What can we answer for you?
Morning, Dave. Morning, Ben. Listen, I'm interested in the future possibility of the top 28 returning to Lafayette. It seems that the LHSAA has new leadership now, and as I understand it, the problem was they didn't want to pay to rent the Cajun Dome. If indeed the hotels and the restaurants benefit so much from what would be one of the bigger events outside of Mardi Gras and the Festival International, why don't you try to get the hotels and restaurants to chip in and cover whatever expenses the LHSAA might have conducting the top 28 in Lafayette?
Thanks, Fabio.
Yeah, good question, Fabio, and thanks for calling. It's something that I would love to see back in Lafayette, and I'm a big basketball fan and coach, and there was a lot that happened several years ago when we lost it. A lot of politics involved in it, but the good news is, and I know this is also a priority of Mayor President Robideau. He mentioned it not only to me, but he said it publicly that he'd like to see the top 28 come back to Lafayette. And I think because of the change in leadership and over time, wounds sort of heal. I believe the Cajun Dome is open to it as well. So we're going to try to make a run for the top 28 at some point. There are some scheduling issues for 2017, but hopefully by 2018 we're going to be in a position that we can make a good attempt at it. And I think I'd like to think we have a pretty good chance at it. And of course, like you mentioned, that there will be some financial costs, but hopefully we can put together a package that can bring it back, because it's a prestige event for our area, number one. But you're correct; it does help the hotels, it does help the restaurants, and all those things.
Now, I can talk to this, what happened in Illinois.
Right.
What they would consider high school. They started March Madness before the NCAA took it over. But in Illinois, you have the big schools one weekend and the small schools another weekend. And they used to have it in Champaign. And there were serious, you're talking about the rent at the, or Fabio was talking about the rent at the Cajun Dome. Champaign had serious price gouging. All right.
Right.
There's always a little bit of, when you have an event,
Right.
Mardi Gras hotels are going to be a little bit, hotels in New Orleans are going to be a little bit more expensive during Mardi Gras. That is the norm.
Or Super Bowl.
Exactly. Or Super Bowl or some sort of New Year's, some sort of major event. However, though, they were doubling and tripling for people who can't really afford it for, a high school basketball tournament. So they moved it from Champaign, Illinois to Peoria. And it is a tremendous weekend.
Yeah.
So you got to mix in the ice skaters.
Right.
You got to mix in the Cajuns.
UL basketball. That's right.
Yeah, so there is a whole scheduling deal to get in there for. It was just 1 week in the top 28, or is that a couple weekends?
It's actually a week long.
A week long deal.
Yeah, so I think they start on Monday and go all the way through Saturday. But and of course a lot has changed at LHSAA just in the last week and a half. So it may not be, as I understand it, it won't be the top 28 anymore. It maybe be the top 56 or something like that.
Right.
And then what are they going to do? Are they going to have both of those events at the same venue? And so a lot of questions, I think, that have come up in the last week and a half, that when we do make an attempt to get it, we'll see where they are at that point.
By the time we get to it, there may not be an LHSAA. All right, we got Chad on the RopeSoapandDope.com hotline. Thanks for calling in, Chad.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to one-up the last call, I think Fabio or whatever. My dad had a restaurant in Lafayette when the top 28 was here, and my dad and a few other of his buddies that own other restaurants fed the kids free. And talking to other coaches and stuff, there's no place. I know the attendance is down tremendously compared to what it was in Lafayette, compared to where the other sites were. There's really no place, no hospitality like Lafayette, and I think it does, not to have it in Lafayette does it injustice. But I hope y'all get it back here, man. But I just wanted to one-up the caller on it, and there's no place like Lafayette and having it over here, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what Chad said is so true. Many people don't realize what our community did to bring that event to a whole nother level. The restaurants and the volunteers and the Blue Coats and Gerald Hebert and the team that he assembled from a volunteer standpoint. Our restaurants did feed all the teams, and it just, as he said, I don't think the hospitality that we provided can be equaled anywhere. I don't think it has been equaled anywhere. And, you hope those things would help when we go to make our bid the next time.
All right, we want to thank Ben Berthelot, Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitor Commission. Hey, Joel, he set a record 3 phone calls in one show. All right, 3 phone calls in one show there, Mayor President. All right, we'll bring on Corporal Paul Mouton from the LPD, the Public Information Officer. Joins us next about the safety with Mardi Gras. Still to come on Sport of Politics on a Acadiana Sports Station 103.7 The Game.
Now, back to Sport of Politics on 103.7 The Game and 103.7thegame.com with Lafayette City Parish Mayor President Joel Robideau. Here's your host, Dave Schultz.
All right, we hope to have Joel back next week, right before I go to Miami, by the way. A little South Florida vacation. Following next week's show, Dave Schultz on the Sport of Politics on Acadiana Sports Station 103.7 The Game and 103.7thegame.com. We're talking with Corporal Paul Mouton, the Public Information Officer of Lafayette Police Department. Good morning, Paul. Thanks very much for joining us. How are you?
Good. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
All right, if you want to give us a call, 706-0111, 706-0111. We'll take your phone calls. All right, so how did the first weekend of Mardi Gras go?
It actually went quite well. This is going to be my 26th Mardi Gras working here for the police department. And the Rio Parade, which I mentioned earlier in the show, is a fairly new parade. And I would say the numbers for the Rio Parade were probably as big as I've ever seen them. Had a lot to do with the weather, family atmosphere. 0 incidents to report where we had to take action along the parade route.
Wow.
So tremendous. The parade lasted from me leaving, because I lead the parade with the chief of police, and we left Pontiac Point at 6:30, and we drove on to the parking lot of Cajun Field at about 9:10. Is that about 3 hours and 10 minutes?
Okay.
So actually a little longer than what it normally is. So
Right.
I think if you went to the parade, Rio's known for the throws, and they got a good show.
And then what is the normal average incidence at a parade? You said, 0. I mean, obviously you can't get better than that, but
Well, obviously alcohol is a big issue.
Sure.
You know, people come out consuming and, sometimes overindulge, I guess you could
nothing like
say.
tailgating before an actual tailgate.
Exactly. and listen, we get it. The officers along the route show
right.
a lot of tolerance. We get that. We just have to do it, with be a little moderate about as to how much we consume. And so normally we'll have, between 7 to 13 incidents that
See,
we
there you go.
will do. And when you consider how many people come to the parades,
Right,
the
right.
numbers of people that are there and everything that's going on in the city, that's quite low. So we're happy with that. We preach to our officers, we try to keep it family, try to keep it friendly, be tolerant of things that normally maybe we would make an arrest,
Right.
maybe give a warning, for those misdemeanor incidents that maybe that we come across. And so for the most part, that's how we try to do it every year. And so this year will be no different. Officers will be out in force. Safety is a big issue for us. When I started years ago, we didn't have the barricades. And it was
Right.
it was a nightmare.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And then one year they came out with this cable they put along Jefferson Street, and that didn't
Oh,
work.
goodness.
No, they popped the cable, and so a steel cable at that. And so now that we have the barricades, it allows the officers to kind of sit inside the parade route,
Right.
and watch the crowd and make sure that there's no issues, there's no safety issues. I know there's a lot of devices that you see a lot of ladders with kids sitting up high. For the most part, the parents are tending to them and not getting distracted
Yeah.
by the parade. And so, and that's what we strive for every year, is that we have a safe, family-friendly Mardi Gras. And the public really comes out and helps us in doing that, reporting any incidents, any things that may have happened. One of the big issues that we have is music. What's Mardi Gras without music? But the reality is, if you're going to have external speakers on the outside, you have to have a permit. And so that has to be received through Lafayette
In
Consolidated
terms
Government.
of the parade or the people playing it, watching the parade?
Watching the parade.
Oh,
And
okay.
so,
Oh.
and we show some tolerance
Sure,
for that.
sure, turn it down, right.
Where it becomes an issue with us is obviously any music with vulgar language in it that's, not family friendly.
Right.
And so...
Well, if you can make out the lyrics of some of these songs, you're better than me.
So, our officers are very mindful of that. And with that, most people are very cooperative in when we ask them to play either family-friendly music or turn it off. And so for that reason, that's a big issue. Lost children, obviously, always a big problem every year. And so what we try to tell people is those kids that really, have a hard time remembering mom and dad's name, phone number, place a note in their pocket and make them aware of, have a good talk with them before they come out to the parade as to, what to do in those cases. Go to a police officer, a firefighter, a paramedic along the parade route, and hopefully we'll reunite them. If they're going to put a note in the pocket, give us a phone number of someone who's not at the parade route. And because sometimes, while they're at the parade route, the noise level is so high they may not hear their phone. They're frantic and trying to find their child. And so if we can get someone that's away from the parade route, we can set up some type of arrangement to get that child to back to their guardian or their parent.
Yeah, all you need is some 5-year-old to tell them their last name is Trahan, and you don't know who they belong to.
That's right. When the parade,
Can you narrow it down?
When the parade's going by, it's tough to
Right.
hey, can I get everybody's attention?
Right.
Because they ultimately they're going for the beads. The crews do a great job of providing great entertainment for the people that go, and for that we ask the public to respect that. Please don't throw things back at the floats. We don't get it that often, but it does happen, and it's an easy way for someone to get injured, as far as because they're not expecting it on the float, and to get hit in the face or anywhere else in the head, a large object. We've had beer.
I got seasoning thrown at me, not on the float. I got some Cajun seasoning, which was a great thing to get instead of a bead. But if you don't see that coming,
yes. Yeah.
Any concussions reported? Sometimes these float guys take aim with their beads.
Yes, and 99% of the people on the float do a great job
Right.
delivering those beads in the right way. But we do have issue. I think one year we had a float that had Jello shots flying off the float. So needless to say, we went on board and we'll do that from time to time. Have to board the floats and just have a little stern talking to, or remove one or two of the riders. But those Jello shots were a big hit.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
You know, makes an issue though when the underage kids get them.
Correct. Well, it's just Jello, officer. I don't know what I'm having. We're talking with Corporal Paul Mouton, Public Information Officer of the Lafayette Police Department. All right, so from someone who's not from here, what is I don't know if the laws is the right way. What are the rules when it comes to public consumption of alcohol?
As long as it's not in a glass container, you can consume alcohol in public, especially during Mardi Gras.
Okay.
We ask that you police your trash. Obviously, you know, we do have crews that go after the parades are all over and do pick up all the trash. But if you could police those types of things, the age is 21 and older unless you're with and accompanied by a parent or guardian. Then it's 18 to 21. But you have to be with that parent or guardian. They can't give you the beer and then you walk off.
No kidding.
And that's correct. And so there's a little confusion about that, kind of a loophole in the law.
That is a little loophole.
Yes. And so most of the people that we do find that are underage, under the age of 21, they're typically not with their parent or guardian. Glass containers, regardless of what's in it, cannot be. You know, some people say, well, you know, I have a glass bottle of Coke.
Right.
When actually the glass container is what the
glass. Right.
And what it does is it causes problems for us if the glass falls on the ground and breaks, or if it's, you know, picked up and thrown into the crowd. It you know, obviously can cause a serious injury. And so that's the main issue on that. And for the most part, people follow that. You know, the majority of the people that we see have cans as far as for what they're consuming. And now how much you consume and overindulging, you know, please be mindful of that. No drinking and driving. You know, every year our officers with our alcohol traffic action campaign arrest more people than any other city within the state of Louisiana, which is good that we're removing these impaired drivers, but bad that, you know, we still have that record. You know, our ideal goal is to arrest fewer and fewer people, and that our message is getting out there. Hey, there's taxis, there's Uber, there's
well, I brought that
friends.
up. Has there been any drop in that since Uber? Because I mean, beforehand, as someone who's known this, there were only, as far as I know, 2 taxi companies in town, and it was really tough to get a ride. Uber seems to be that much easier. Have you seen any drop? It's only been, I know, 6 months.
Right. I think our numbers at the end of this year are going to show if we see a reduction. I would say Uber has an impact. Listen, I have friends that constantly use that. They use it for the ride there. They use it for the ride back.
Sure.
And, you know, how responsible is that? And so, you know, with that now available at the, you know, touch of an app,
right?
You know, wow, what else could you do? You know, also, you know, I tell people, if you have kids that can drive in your family, you know, why not utilize them to drop you off and pick you up? You're not only getting a safe ride home, but you're showing that you're being responsible, responsible adults in consuming alcohol. And so, you know, as a result of that, hopefully our numbers will go down this year.
All right, we're talking with Corporal Paul Mouton from the Lafayette Police Department, Public Information Officer. We'll take your calls next. Final break on the Sport of Politics, 706-0111, 706-0111 on Acadiana Sports Station, 103.7 The Game and 103.7thegame.com.
Now, back to Sport of Politics on 103.7 The Game and 103.7thegame.com with Lafayette City Parish Mayor President Joel Robideau. Here's your host, Dave Schultz.
All right, Dave Schultz, back on the Sport of Politics. Still no Mayor President Joel Robideau. Took up all of, he went to D.C., missed that show. Then he skipped out on last week's show halfway through, and he's a no-show this week. Somewhere along the way, he'll show up.
Is it time to file a missing persons report?
I think it is. It is. Anytime. It's his show.
I think we put a bolo out, you know.
I think I'm going to just skip out. I would have started my vacation on Wednesday if I didn't have to do this show next week. I would have been out a day earlier. See if he can host a show on his own. Bring his buddies on. We're talking with Corporal Paul Mouton, Public Information Officer on the Sport of Politics. Give us a call, 706-0111, 706-0111. All right, so obviously this is the big weekend for a Mardi Gras. You know, what is the manpower, for the police department for this weekend?
We all obviously everyone works Mardi Gras. No one's off. Can't be off because of this time of year. We need everyone available because of the length of the parade route, the amount of people that'll be going out to it. And so, with that said, if you become a police officer in Lafayette, you're either going to be working on Mardi Gras or you're going to be working on Mardi Gras. So it's one of those things. One of the issues, first of all, the barricades are going back out today. Where
do they come down?
Well, after the Rio, they're put off to the side. They're taken out of the roadway, and so beginning today, they'll put them out from Pontiac Point all the way to Vermilion and Johnson Street, where they'll be placed back into the roadway. Tomorrow, they will begin putting them on Johnson Street, which is going to be a nightmare for everyone, so everyone should be prepared, and go all the way to Cajun Field. Once those barricades are in the roadway, they will remain there until Tuesday evening when they'll be taken down. And so if you have any business in or around the parade route, understand that traffic will be a nightmare and that Johnson Street will be down to one lane in each direction. And so what does that mean? It's going to flow on Pinhook. It's going to be more busy. Congress Street is going to see an increase in the flow of traffic. And so you really can't be in a hurry to get anywhere. And then our crossovers are going to be packed as a result of people trying to get from one side of the parade route to the other. And so just be aware that a lot of times at night we put the barricades, they stay in the roadway. We get a few killed, people driving along and taking out barricades.
Yes. Okay, all right, not people. All right, just making sure.
No, we don't want any pedestrians.
Right.
But the barricades will be taken out, and so be mindful of that when you're driving, especially at night. If you're going to be anywhere around the parade route, understand those barricades are in the roadway and that traffic is reduced. Which presents the next problem. Everyone coming to the parade parking.
Right.
In a perfect world, we'd have nice little parking lots set up along the parade route. People could go to them. Buses would pick up and drop them off. But unfortunately not. Be mindful of driveways. Be mindful of that you're not blocking the street, that emergency crews, fire department, police, or ambulance can get in and out of those particular areas. Be mindful of locking your vehicles. Crime's about opportunity, and so the opportunity, the fact of the matter is there are going to be more cars concentrated around that parade route than anywhere else in the city. And so those individuals that want to take advantage of people are going to go around, they're going to check doors, they're going to look for unlocked doors, they're going to look for people leaving valuables inside, electronic devices, guns. Has been a big issue with people leaving guns in cars that are being stolen out. So please leave your valuables at home, lock your doors to your vehicle, and also be mindful when you're parking that you don't block a driveway or block a roadway, because in the event if it does become an issue, we don't tow that many cars, but in the event we have to, we will tow a vehicle. And when you return from the parade route, your vehicle won't be there.
And you guys are paying attention to the parade and the safety of all the people on the parade. You can't be paying attention to people going into cars. It's too much.
And that's a very good point. When they're on the parade route, I've seen people leave valuables behind them while they're standing at the parade. And so where's all the attention focused? It's focused on the float. And so you have these individuals walking behind the crowd. They're going to come. They're going to dig through purses. They're going to dig through ice chests, help themselves to an adult beverage that's not theirs. You name it. They're going to try to take advantage.
Yeah, but you know what, though? That's sharing. That's the Cajun way down here. That's sharing. Even if someone takes it. That happens all the time.
Unauthorized sharing?
Well, that's all right. That's okay. That's, that's all right. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Focus with Will Smith, but that was they ran a whole crew down there in New Orleans, just people not paying attention.
Yes.
And, just pickpocketing everybody, just a slight bump, and, there goes the watch.
Yeah,
I don't know if people are that, I don't know if we have that kind of thing up here. It was just a movie, but it was a whole thing down there in the movie.
I think we're fortunate that, we're not as dense as New Orleans, where we're not packing as many kids and adults into such a small area that we don't have issues like that. But we still have people out there that are trying to take an opportunity that people are distracted, their valuables are left behind them, their vehicles unlocked, and so they're gonna commit those crimes if we allow them to. And so the more we lessen that opportunity, less likely we're going to become a victim of a crime. And so that's what we want people to understand, that, you have to participate in the crime prevention. It just can't be the police, just can't be the public. It's got to be a joint effort in trying to reduce crime and reduce the chances of you becoming a victim.
All right. Well, do you know what the weather is supposed to be like? Did you get the weather forecast for this week?
Actually, I believe the high Mardi Gras day will be 57 or 58 degrees, somewhere in that area. Right. Sunny.
There you go. That's all that people care about.
Slight chance of rain on Saturday, 30%. As long as it's not cold and we don't have ice on barricades.
Right.
I think I'll be all right.
Right. It's cooled off a little bit last night, but
yes, oh yes,
right.
It's going to be cold for Friday's parade. And, and our officers, they stand out there the whole time.
Right.
I'm fortunate I'm in the vehicle. It's sunny and 72. And so they really don't appreciate that comment. We do get a lot of people ask our officers to pick up beads on the parade route. And what we ask them is, they're out there to do a job, and their job is to watch the parade, the parade goers. And so, obviously, if they had to pick up beads that fall into the barricade area every time someone, wanted it or whatever, it's distracting to what they do. So most of them are really happy to be there. May not be in their face, but they're really happy to be there. And their ultimate responsibility is that large section of parade area that they have to monitor, and make sure no one gets injured or anything.
All right. So, overall, the police department looks forward to Mardi Gras, or in 30 seconds, is it one of those things, let's get it over with as quickly as possible?
I think when you first come on the department, you say, hey, man, this is cool.
Right.
And so,
26 years later, you're driving in a car.
Well, true. I'd say for the most part, they look forward to it. It's just at the end, they tire.
Right.
They're tired.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Want to thank Corporal Paul Mouton from LPD, the Public Information Officer, along with Ben Berthelot, Executive Director of Lafayette Convention and Visitor Commission. Eventually, we'll get Lafayette City Parish Mayor President Joel Robideau back on his own show, hopefully next week, before we take a much-needed vacation to Florida. All right, want to thank Technical Director Dylan Guillory and Producer Matt LeBlanc. Also, Producer Alan Michael for doing a bang-up job. Tune in next week for another edition of Sport of Politics. Dan Patrick Show coming up next, and I'll be back tomorrow morning to wrap up the week on another edition of Sports Chat on Acadiana Sports Station 103.7 The Game.